I mean, one of the beautiful things about being an IFS therapist is you get that you just get out of the way at a certain point, and the client starts to know exactly what to say to these parts, and the parts who had seemed so oppressive and huge sort of melt.
How is it that Germany in the last 75 years has been able to achieve socially and culturally a kind of healing
Yeah.
that we in the US have not?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And, I'd just be speculative, but I think one reason is in contrast to what I was saying about the US, Germany has almost gone overboard in the other direction, from what I gather, in terms of how much kids are educated to be ashamed of their parents or their grandparents and what they did in the Holocaust. And there were some years where I was doing a lot of work in Germany with IFS, and I was just amazed because we would find these parts that were stuck in school when they learned about what their parents did. And so there was a big attempt by the government to really counter, to really face, I guess, the horror of what the population had bought into, and had a kind of never again philosophy about it. And so I think a combination of that and the sort of European general, but particularly in Germany, socialistic approach where people aren't suffering there in the way they are here, because it's far more individualistic here. And so there is a kind of safety net that we don't have. And so you don't have people that we have here living in that same level of constant anxiety and fear and poverty. And so I do think that that's a big difference. There just aren't as many exiles with the rawness that there are in this country that are prey to those kinds of ideas.
I'm remembering, Dick, that right at the onset, you named the organization that was stewarding the unfolding of IS the Center for Self-Leadership. So you brought in the term leadership very early on, even during the time when your work, I am guessing, was entirely or almost entirely focused on individuals, couples, and families. And yet you put that much emphasis on leadership. And so there seems to be a really important intuition there, which could be, in a way, our bridge to large systems.
Just from working particularly with individuals and but also, as you say, couples, and seeing the impact when people access what I might call the critical mass of self, when parts open up enough space that self can really emerge and begin to take more leadership. And I mean, one of the beautiful things about being an IFS therapist is you get that you just get out of the way at a certain point, and the client starts to know exactly what to say to these parts, and the parts who had seemed so oppressive and huge sort of melt. They don't disappear, but they've been waiting. It's sort of like parts, for me, it's like a bunch of little kids who got, like Lord of the Flies, they had to take on these very extreme roles, but they're waiting for some adult to show up who can really show them, you don't have to do this, you can trust me to do it. And so as I would see that happen in individuals, and then in working with couples, if you could hold each partner in self as they talk to each other and not let their protectors jump in and do the talking, how quickly their relationship would heal, I did start to think, maybe there's some critical mass of self that if we can bring to any large system would have the same kind of impact.